From Barrett Insurance Agency, Mike Barrett for Good Policies. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm living the dream, my friend, and the weather has been absolutely stunning. Saw you down
Do
at
you realize that they listen to you at the post office and they have a bell like that? And I can only assume
every time.
Someone's
at the counter.
Hey, gotta get up front, John. John. False alarm.
Yellow ticket. Saw you at the Fall Foliage Festival with your beautiful family.
Thank you, yes.
And was the dog there?
We thought about bringing Charlie.
Too much pulling, too many people?
No, he would have been all right. But we had too much going on, so we didn't want to really put him under that pressure. So.
Cotton candy with the dog, and they get crazy. They want to go in the bounce house over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Settle down.
Would have been the end of it all.
And are you going to head up to the East Burke Fall Foliage Festival we have this Saturday? You're going to be busy this weekend.
I don't know. I guess I hadn't thought about that.
You should stop up there. Do you walk around and be like, hey, how you doing? If you have an interest in insurance, here's my card.
You always think I do that. You thought I did that at the Caledonia County Fair.
No, because that would be me. I mean, if I was a lawyer, I'd constantly be pitching like, if anything should happen, God forbid, here's my card.
Here I am.
But, it just seems to me that is, I think, one of those like 60s, 70s people pitching insurance used to walk around with giant portfolios and always be like, can I interest you in insurance? Hey, and it's not like that so much. People come to you. You don't have to pitch it. And does that seem hokey to you?
To pitch it?
Yeah, to go out and be like, hey, I'm Mike Barrett, Barrett Insurance Agency, and if you should ever need it. I mean, it just seems like you have a business that people need the service. So what's the harm in giving yourself a little self-promotion?
Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah.
Social
you go that
media,
route.
website.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would stand down in the corner with like a sandwich board on my naked body.
And sell nothing.
Sell sandwiches.
Last week, do you remember what you asked me about last week?
Oh, man. If you brought me breakfast? No, I do not.
No.
I do not.
So last week we were talking about kids going to college and coverage.
That's right. And what you covered.
You were wondering about going abroad or international or anything like that.
If I remember correctly, tell me if they are in-state, your auto, home, bundle, whatever, covers some of their property at school.
Okay, so no, but that's fine. That was a valiant effort, my friend. Valiant effort.
I thought it was. It wasn't. I remember you saying if it's out of state or out of the country, you definitely need a separate insurance policy for that.
Not necessarily. It's something that
That's it. I give up.
Remember the color we spoke of last week? Gray? So that was a discussion saying, look, if you're living in off-campus housing, it may be in your best interest to get a specific renter's policy just to be on the safe side. If you're living in a dorm, a little bit different there. If you're still considered a dependent under you'd be covered under your parents' policy, which of course would be up to 10% of their coverage C personal property limit. So if it's $100,000, technically you'd have up to $10,000. So it's all about dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and getting optimal coverage. And what you asked about last week is if somebody said, well, they're going to go abroad for the year, or they're going to just study, or do something maybe a little more non-traditional. Your personal property would be covered still wherever you are. There's really not a limitation necessarily if you're traveling, which is the good thing. If you're on vacation and things get stolen while you're on vacation, maybe taking that cruise or going to visit the Louvre.
If I go and visit the Louvre and rent a vehicle, does my American insurance for my car cover a rental over there?
That is so perfect that you brought that, because that was the other part of our conversation today that I teased last week. The answer to that is no.
Okay.
So the coverage territory, and you can actually look at your insurance policy and see a coverage territory, and we're talking auto insurance, whereas the homeowner policy gives you worldwide liability and really doesn't have a ton of limitations necessarily on personal property with you abroad. But when it comes to your auto insurance, that is a specific coverage territory.
Okay, wait a minute.
So you have to be in the United States or a U.S. territory.
So let's say not so far as the Louvre, but I'm up in Canada. I've decided to cross over and spend the weekend, and something unfortunate occurs in Canada. I don't know the laws in Canada.
Sure.
And I've never been where I am of driving age. I used to go through there all the time when I was younger.
Sure.
But I wasn't the one driving. am I covered?
You are. You
Okay.
are. Canada is
Because you said
actually-
U.S. territory, and that's not.
Yeah, and I meant to include Canada. Canada
Okay.
is part of that. And the thing that people need to remember with Canada is that you have to have a Canadian provincial identification card, because for some reason they don't accept the ID cards that are issued as part of your insurance policy in the States. And so for that very reason, we have these beautiful little yellow provincial cards that we have to literally just transcribe the information from your ID card onto that. And that is the only reason that our insurance agency has a typewriter, because that is the only way for us to complete those forms.
How interesting is that?
So it's really good to have that.
And that's free of charge with your policy.
It is. And every once in a while I'll call and some of my contacts at some of the national carriers like Progressive and Kemper and the Hartford and go, hey, you guys still aware of having to issue these stupid yellow provincial cards? Do we still have to issue? They have typewriters indeed, and they still do it as well. So that's something to think about. And then finally, real quick hit this morning, back onto the college student. Do I keep them on my insurance policy when they're away at school, or do I take them off?
I'd say keep them on.
Thank you. So if you're going to Groovy UV or Plymouth State University, I apologize. You're not going to get the credit that's out there and available on an auto policy. There is a credit on your personal auto that if your child is going to school over 100 miles away from home, it's a nice credit. So you're definitely getting a bit of a break if they don't have a car going with them and they're over 100 miles away from home going to school. So, but no matter what, we recommend keep the children on the policy. A couple of reasons. Your auto policy would serve as excess coverage if they're borrowing a friend's car and get into an accident and need that supplemental coverage because their friend either doesn't have enough insurance or maybe in some cases has no insurance. You don't want to leave yourself open-ended there. 2, medical payments coverage on an auto policy will cover your student even as a pedestrian.
Oh, there you go.
So good stuff to think about there. And finally,
And incidents
always
do
talk
occur.
and ask about this. Always. Because I'm talking in general. So you always want to get the specifics from your company or your agent.
I want to talk more about the yellow card in Canada next time around, but of course, as usual, you and I yap so much, our time is out. So, Mike Barrett, Barrett Insurance Agency, make sure you buzz him up at
748-5224. Visit our website, thebarrettagency.com. On Facebook, YouTube, and Google+, Barrett Insurance Agency. Oh, yeah, and we're physically located at 309 Portland Street in St. Jay.
and bring him a St. Johnsbury House of Pizza, and he'll give you extra fun.
Love it.
Love it.
You're supposed to hit the play
Oh,
button so we
sorry.
can stop talking now.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Hey.